So picture this. You're looking at a glossy university brochure, or maybe you're scrolling through some institution's flashy new website, and right there, front and center, is a bright, shiny accreditation badge. A gold star. It looks incredible, right? You probably immediately assume the entire university is just world-class across the board. But what if I told you that, in a lot of cases, a badge for one specific program absolutely does not cover the whole institution? What if that gold star is only telling you a tiny fraction of the actual story? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're basically tearing down the facade of educational marketing to figure out what those fancy letters and badges actually mean. Okay, let's dive into this and decode the whole alphabet soup of university accreditation. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be navigating the alphabet soup, going inside the master matrix, reading accreditation claims, and finally wrapping up with the benchmarking loop. All right, part 1, navigating the alphabet soup. Now, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by letters like NACA, NBA, or AACSB, believe me, you are not alone. It's a lot, but fortunately, we have a tool to cut right through that noise. Put together by Dr. Dharmendra Pandey, this framework brilliantly illustrates the landscape we are about to decode. It takes what looks like a chaotic mess and lays out 6 clear frameworks by scope, unit, criteria, process, cycle, and philosophy. This cheat sheet is literally going to be our decoder ring today. Moving right along to part 2, inside the master matrix. Okay, so the absolute most crucial thing to understand here is the unit that's actually being accredited. On one hand, you have bodies like NAC in India or EQUIS globally. They look at the whole institution, or all of the campuses. It's a total blanket assessment. But on the other side of the coin, you have bodies like NBA or ABD, and these are highly, highly specific. They accredit individual programs, like one specific engineering or management or STEM degree. And this is exactly why we started off by saying a badge for one program doesn't magically cover the whole university. I mean, you could have a world-class ABD-accredited computer science program sitting inside a university that is otherwise, well, completely average. And beyond just what they measure, we really have to look at how they measure it, because there is a massive philosophical divide here. On one side, you've got input-weighted grading, like the traditional NAC model, which focuses on what a school has, their infrastructure, the number of books in the library, their faculty count, though interestingly, they are actually moving toward a binary system now. But on the flip side, you have outcome-based models like NBA and ABET, which are signatories of the Washington Accord. They don't just care about the library, they care about what the students can actually do when they graduate. It's kind of like the difference between judging a kitchen by its expensive, shiny ovens versus judging it by the actual meals the chefs produce. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the shift towards societal impact, specifically in international business education. Frameworks like AACSB, EMBA, and BGA aren't just looking to hand out a static grade and walk away. Not at all. They're mission-driven and holistic. They want to see continuous improvement. They're asking questions like, what are your developmental goals? And how is this business school positively impacting society? It's a much bigger, way more dynamic picture than just ticking boxes on a clipboard. All right, detectives, let's move to part 3. Reading accreditation claims, and the 6 essential questions you need to be asking. Questions 1 and 2. First up, which body is actually issuing the claim? Because every measure means something different, the name of the body is a hard fact. It's not just a decorative logo. Second, which unit? Like we just talked about, you have to ask if this badge applies to the whole university, a specific school, or just one single program. Do not let the marketing blur those lines for you. Question 3. Is it actually valid today? Think of this like a restaurant health inspector. Just because a place got an A+ 5 years ago doesn't mean the kitchen is still clean today, right? These accreditation cycles generally expire every 3 to 6 years, so never ever settle for a historic grade. Always ask to see the current letter. Question 4 asks, which edition of the rules were they tested against? The educational landscape evolves so fast. A grade is literally only as relevant as the current rulebook it's based on. Passing the standards back in 2016 is vastly different from meeting the updated and usually much stricter standards of 2026. Question 5 is where you really have to dig in. What did the peers actually verify? See, accreditation involves a visiting team of experts actually looking under the hood. You want to know what that evaluation team verified in their official report rather than just trusting whatever is printed on the glossy brochure designed by the PR department. And finally, question 6. What is not covered? Honestly, this is my favorite one because it really forces you to read between the lines. Every single accreditation has a defined scope, and what universities conveniently choose not to highlight is often exactly what you need to be looking at. What lies outside the scope of that shiny badge is usually where the real story hides. Let's move to part 4, the benchmarking loop, and see how this builds into real improvement. So, how do schools actually use this to get better? Well, they use this 4-stage internal working loop. Serious institutions rely on this to drive themselves forward. It starts with a plan, deciding exactly what you want to improve. Then you collect, gathering hard data on your own performance. Step 3 is compare, measuring the size of the gap between where you currently are and where the top leaders are. And finally, you close the gap by setting new goals, tracking your progress, and then doing the whole cycle all over again. This loop is the real engine behind quality education. To really sum up why this internal loop matters so much more than just a surface-level grade, look at this incredibly powerful quote from Robert Camp at Xerox back in 1999. A league table tells you the size of the gap. Benchmarking asks the second question: what does the leader do differently? See, true accreditation isn't about the ranking. It's not about being number 5 instead of number 6. It's fundamentally about continuous learning. It's about looking at the leaders, figuring out their secret sauce, and doing the hard work to actually close that gap. So, there you have it. We've decoded the matrix, we've armed you with the 6 essential questions, and we've explored the internal benchmarking loop that drives real excellence. So the next time you're evaluating a program, scrolling through a website, or looking at a brochure, I want you to pause. Next time you see that accreditation badge, are you just going to see a gold star? Or are you going to use your new toolkit to uncover the real story behind it? The power to know the difference is now yours.